Welcome. You're listening to the best of investing on News Talk 910. You know our show. It's where we present valuable information about real estate, the financial markets, and other economic business of the day. And for those of you listening for the first time, here's our format. A few guys sitting around a bar having drinks without the drinks, talking business with you, the audience listening in. I'm your host, Edward Brown, and I'm pleased to have as my co-host Mark Hahn from Pacific Private Money, California's fastest growing private lender, and Robert Schiff of RPM Mortgage. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Now write that number down, 888-912-1190, because you're going to use that number to answer the trivia questions for 3 vacations given away during each commercial break. That's right, we're giving away 9 vacations during this show. And the vacations are sponsored by Lighthouse Resort and Marina and not by the radio station. And they're located 1 hour northeast of San Francisco. The vacations are free. They only request a $75 cleaning fee to cover housekeeping expenses. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. You can reach them at 916-777-5511. And today's trivia theme is paleontology, or dinosaurs, for all of you who do not graduate.
Who are dinosaurs?
Who are dinosaurs, yeah, that's right. Our website is bestofinvesting.com. Check us out on Facebook and YouTube by typing Best of Investing Radio Show. And we're also on television, Comcast Channel 26 on Saturdays at noon and Sundays at 6 p.m. Now, today's guest is Dr. Michael Chiarottino, who is a pain management specialist and also handles addictions. He's going to discuss pain in the workplace. Dr. Michael Chiarottino, welcome to the Best of Investing.
Thank you.
Okay. Give us some insight here.
Well, I'll give you a little bit of background, first of all. I originally started out in emergency medicine. I did a residency in Kansas City, Missouri at a level 1 trauma center, so I had lots of trauma experience. And then I switched about 10 years ago and got boards in addiction medicine, and I'm doing pain management and addiction medicine in a building which I purchased here in San Rafael.
Okay, so how are you seeing that in the workplace specifically? With addiction.
I see quite a few blue collar guys coming in with different injuries, and I actually see a lot of surreptitious drug abuse going on with these guys. They come in because they've been injured and getting their history. Certain patterns seem to have developed with certain drugs to allow these people to perform better.
Okay, now Robert's addicted to this show, so what can we give him for that?
Once a week.
Once a week.
Yeah.
Well, so none of us here are spring chickens, and like I know I grew up in the 70s
Yeah.
when the type of addictions we faced back then were from the recreational type. But would you say, and I don't know the answer to this, is maybe addictions to pain medications a lot more common today than we might think?
Well, actually, there's an epidemic of pain medication abuse right now, and last year there were about 15,000 deaths that were directly attributed to the pain medication.
Is OxyContin?
Well, OxyContin is a continuous release form of oxycodone, but the 30 milligram immediate release oxycodone is the culprit, because Purdue Pharmacy really didn't take they took some precautions, but it's very abusable. You can snort it, crush it, shoot it up.
Oh, hold on, let me write these down. Crush it, snort it.
Any route. You can take it any route.
So is that the medication that's largely responsible for the epidemic?
Yes.
Or is it Vicodin?
Well, Vicodin too. Vicodin's been a player for, when I was doing emergency medicine, Vicodin was a big player, but it's not quite as lethal, because, for the simple reason, it has Tylenol, and you can't shoot it up, you can't snort it, you can't smoke it. It's a mixed drug.
So the drug companies found a mistake and fixed it. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
Yeah.
Purdue Pharmacy fixed it by selling the division that makes oxycodone 30s. That's how they fixed it.
Well,
They sold it to somebody else. It's somebody else's problem.
I tried mixing that with Vicodin and Valium one time. I figured anything with a V is okay. Is that
How'd
all right?
it go?
Viagra?
What hospital did they take you to?
Yeah, exactly. I'm still feeling the effects.
So in terms of
Just kidding, audience.
So doctor, in terms of detox services for someone addicted to the pain medication, how is that different from, say, addiction to alcohol or drugs, or recreational drugs?
Well, first of all, the opioids as a class are fairly safe. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but
Save?
That's what everybody says. We should be saving this fund.
They're
Yeah,
they're
that's
re-
right.
they're relatively safe.
Relatively safe,
Of course, if you mix them with other respiratory depressants, they can be lethal. And every
Well, a nurse friend of mine said it's always best to take medication with alcohol.
Rubbing alcohol.
Yeah. Well, since every opioid death is a respiratory death, if you take other respiratory depressants with these pain pills, you can have a lethal mixture. But they're a very popular drug. They are used quite often by primary care doctors and orthopedic doctors, etc., because they pack a pretty good wallop. It'd be like taking 3 Percocets all at once.
That's not
10
good.
milligram Percocets. Yeah.
How long does it take your typical patient to detox off of addiction to painkillers?
Well, again, this depends now if you're talking about a short-acting pain pill, which oxycodone 30 was designed specifically to treat what's called breakthrough pain. If you have a chronic pain patient, you find a drug that has a long half-life, meaning it stays in your system and does what it does for 8 hours, hopefully, usually not, but if you can find an 8 to 12 hour pain pill and get a nice baseline so their pain level drops, then you use these immediate release drugs for breakthrough pain. If they're doing something or they suddenly have a twinge of pain, they can take something that's of immediate onset that's fairly potent and then has a short half-life, so it disappears.
And do most people come on their own volition to you, or does someone turn them in?
Well, I mean, I see all comers. I get some that come, with what they say, a nudge from the judge. But a lot of people come in on their own, and I put together a facility where I can actually keep these people for 3 or 4 days and detox them, because you can get somebody off of these opioids frequently in that length of time.
In 3 or 4 days. That's pretty good.
Are the health insurance companies willing to contribute to the cost of that?
Well, it's interesting. I've been doing not this detox program, but addiction and pain for 10 years, and I've never taken insurance. It's always been strictly cash, credit cards, and I've never had any problems.
How much does it cost for someone to detox?
$2,000 a day. But that's IV, that's nursing care, that's cardiac monitoring. It's in a very nice facility. It's like an ICU.
And if it's only for 3 or 4 days, that actually is not that expensive,
No.
I mean, there's definitely places that you go for months at a time.
Or 4-week programs.
Well, especially if you look at the cost of addiction. I mean, just the cost of the drugs alone. Frequently, these people are paying thousands of dollars a day just to not even get high anymore, but just to stay out of withdrawal.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the end of the game.
And do you what's the response of people, to be able to just stay off it once they
It's the recidivism.
Recidivism.
Well, that's something that most treatment centers won't talk about, but the recidivism rate is extremely high. It's probably 90%.
Ouch.
So if you were coming in and I told you it would cost $50,000 and your chances were 1 in 10 of being clean in a year, you'd probably put your money back in your pocket and leave.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good point.
But the other side of that is you can be that 1 in 10 person that does stay clean, that does follow direction.
Yeah, I mean, how much of it is willpower?
Well, willpower is a myth when it comes to
I
addiction.
think willpower is for those people who aren't addictive personalities.
That's a good point.
I would put oxycodone up against anybody's willpower who's already an addict.
Well, it's funny. Honestly, that's one of the reasons why I didn't do quote drugs in high school and college, was because I was actually afraid that I was going to like it and get hooked on it.
You wussy.
Well, okay, call me a wussy. All right, guys,
just kidding,
With
folks.
mother's milk.
I'm not addicted to mother's milk, thank you. Okay, we're going to cut to our first commercial break here, and again, the theme is dinosaurs, paleontology. Which dinosaur had 2 rows of plates down its back and 4 spikes at the end of its tail? Don't say anything yet. We're going to come back and then we'll let one of you gentlemen on the panel here answer the question. The first 3 callers with the correct answer are going to win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. Which dinosaur had 2 twin rows of plates down its back and 4 spikes at the end of its tail? 888-912-1190. Make sure to include your name, email address, and speak slowly and spell out your information 1 letter at a time for us, and we'll be right back. Okay.
What's it start with?
Dual overhead Camosaurus.
What's the first letter? What's the first letter?
You have to wait until someone else.
I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah, I can see it. I don't know the name of the
I
guy.
can see it after I have a
used to have
drink or
one.
two.
After you get whiplash from it.
In the beginning, I thought I kept hearing breathing. Because the one thing that's kind of hard is to.
Well, man, I'm kind of wheezing.
I know.
Yeah,
I know it's kind of hard to do that. And then again, when you're doing it, make sure you're like this, because sometimes you're going like this, and I have to keep kind of.
I'm drifting.
Oh, yeah.
Drifting and wheezing.
Is it just happenstance that most of your people are blue collar, or because I'm sure there's
No, I have a lot of private pay. I have probably 500 patients, and I have patients from Tiburon.
Which percentage of them are voluntary without the pre-judge nudge?
Most of them. Most of them might have a judge from their wife.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Some other
spouse
family. There's a
of
lot of
that.
that. There's a lot of interventions
Yeah.
that take place.
The highway or see the doc.
And I'm not really going to talk about this on the air, but I mean,
We're on TV.
Oh, okay. Well, I won't talk
But
about
he can edit it out.
He can edit that part out, but I can't really. This thing will just run the whole from when we start to when we finish.
I mean, I have a lot of empathy for people who try to get clean and sober because I was addicted to a lot of those drugs. So,
At least you can speak from experience, you know.
Well, I mean, I'll be glad to talk about that.
When you were running late, you didn't know if you were going to be here on time. I said, well, he's probably got to like.
He's scoring.
He's got to be empathetic with his patients. So give him a break. He's got to understand what they're going through.
No, I like that. He's trying to score something.
Yeah.
Okay.
What other questions do we have for part 2? Let's see.
Okay. Anything specific you want to get in? I mean, well, at the end we'll have you be able to
Plug your facility.
Oh, you had a couple of emergency room
When you're
stories.
done, Mark,
Let me think. Most of them are X-rated, though.
Oh, yeah, well,
we can do the
if
Y-rated.
you can clean it up.
Yeah, I'd tell the rest of the story, but
Yeah, or just if there's a way to
Now
make
the
it
rest
clean.
of the story.
Well, I mean, we could talk about just some of the other, maybe the hidden costs
Okay.
of addiction in the workplace, the
Oh, totally.
productivity
Okay.
and absenteeism.
well, those are the people who are still working. There must be people who lost their jobs because of.
Okay, you guys ready? Okay, again, 5 seconds of silence. Here we go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hahn of Pacific Private Money and Robert Schiff of RPM Mortgage. When we get to the first commercial break, this is the question we asked. Okay, which dinosaur had 2 twin rows of plates down its back and 4 spikes at the end of its tail?
And was it Triceratops?
No.
No.
Quadriceratops.
Quadriceratops with a dual cam engine, as I remember you
the
saying.
the dual
The dual
overhead
cam. No,
quadriceratops.
it is a Stegosaurus.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you didn't ask me. I knew that answer.
Gotta get closer to
I
the
get-
mic so we can all hear you. You knew that answer. Okay, we're in the studio here with Dr. Michael Chiarottino, who is a pain medication specialist. And Dr. Chiarottino, you're going to tell us a little bit more about the workplace and hidden costs.
Yeah, well, as I said, I do see a lot of employees that come to me because of their injuries, and part of their history is always, drug use, and a lot of times they will open up about drug use, and both their drug use and drug use in general, and work environment. And I'm always amazed at the number of coworkers that they describe that are impaired and how that actually negatively impacts the patient's own work. And in lost productivity, it must. I mean, I don't.
The billions.
So you're saying instead of worrying about super size me Coca-Cola drinks, we have more serious problems to worry about.
We have many more serious problems to work about, and I see a fair amount of alcoholism, and of course, alcohol is socially acceptable.
Yeah.
It's a great social lubricant, and everybody drinks, and it's much more acceptable to be an alcoholic than it is to be a drug addict.
Do you find that most people who come to you are addicted to pain meds from an injury, or what percentage of people are just who've heard about how fun OxyContin or some of those drugs can be?
Well, no, that really is age dependent. I see, 18, 19-year-old kids that are just out of high school, and even sometimes I've seen younger kids who are still in high school that are abusing drugs, and it's very much peer pressure generated. I think in high school and even grade school. In the older crowd, it's amazing how many people tell me that they got started on pain pills because their good old family doctor gave them pain pills for low back pain.
Sure.
I mean, I probably I don't know, half the people it seems like talk about that, and when in fact 80% of adults will have low back pain at some time in their life, and if you just treat it with minimum bed rest and do some stretching, do some core exercises.
Well, that's what I am. I've got low back pain. I've just stretched and sometimes take like a little Tylenol or Advil or something.
Well, if that doesn't work, I got some oxycodone.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's funny going to the pharmacy to get Sudafed. And I couldn't believe it. I suddenly, it's like, what do you mean it's not here on the counter? And they said, and I had no idea until finally someone told me that they make meth out of that.
Well, there's a lot of this war on drugs.
I think it's the war on prices.
Yeah, it's really a myth, but something that did alarm me the other day, quite a lot actually, was one of our local pharmacies told me they had signed an agreement with the DEA, which is the Drug Enforcement Agency, to actively work on this problem of oxycodone. Now, work on this problem, I'm not sure what that means, because I mean, if pharmacies are going to start sharing information with the DEA, that's, to me, is alarming in terms of your right to privacy. It's a direct violation of the HIPAA laws, which were made to protect that kind of information, which, could ruin a person's life, divulging that kind of information. So, I don't know what that's all about. A pharmacist told me this 2 days ago that works at the pharmacy. So I'm going to do a little checking and see just what's going on, because that's.
You were going to tell us a little interesting story of the emergency room.
Well, see if I have anything to clean it up.
You got to clean.
Well, let's see.
It lasts about 3 seconds if you can't clean it up. Right?
I'll try to think of one toward the end.
Well, I got a question as an employer.
Yeah.
Is there a way that I can tell if an employee has an addiction problem with the kind of pain meds we're talking about? I know it's fairly for me anyway to recognize someone who might be have a problem with, like, say, marijuana or cocaine. I think it's easy to see that in someone. But how do you tell if someone's got it?
It's not that
it
easy.
isn't. You'd be surprised at the number of your employees that smoke joints on the way to work.
But the coke maybe
or meth or teeth are falling out.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of
wow.
there's a lot of absenteeism.
They say when you get 4 people from Lake County together, what you have is a full set of teeth.
Maybe. But the absenteeism certainly is one sign, and their productivity drops, and frequently there's a real lability of their mood. They're down.
And I would imagine a lot of them think they're totally maintaining it.
Oh
There's
yeah,
nothing
I don't have a
wrong.
problem.
Yeah, and a
I've
lot,
been doing it for years and nothing's wrong.
Yeah.
you know, and
No, not me personally.
No, I know
yeah,
what you mean,
and,
yeah.
and you know, the denial part of that is amazing because they'll say, "Well, I'm not an addict because I still have a job."
And I can stop anytime I want.
Yeah, I can stop anytime. I have a car, I have a home, I have a wife. Blah,
So are
blah, blah,
12-step
blah.
programs an answer for
Well-
many of your patients?
Yeah, I actually I think 12-step programs have a lot to offer people in terms of they're available, they're affordable, and
Only $1 a day.
and,
Yeah.
and some of the principles that are espoused, I think, by those programs really do work. And AA is really, it's known as a program of attraction and not promotion, meaning AA attracts other people. And you're not supposed to stand out on street corners or go house to house, etc. But I find in my position, I have to get people.
Yeah, you need to be proactive.
I have to.
Yeah.
These people need peer support, and they need to formulate coping skills, or they're going to use again. And I actually I'm going to have some Suboxone meetings at my building because a lot of those people go to 12-step meetings.
Speaking of which,
yeah.
how do people get a hold of you if they have an addiction or if they know someone who's got an addiction?
Well, I have a building that occupies the toxic corner there, at Third and Irwin, right across from the Shell station.
That's
It's
in Santa Fe,
toxic
yeah.
3rd and Irwin, Santa Fe.
waste dumps in San Rafael, and the phone number is 415 area code 480-3880, and I work Monday through Friday, and like I said, there's a facility available that I can detox people, and there aren't any freestanding detox facilities. You go to a hospital, and my position was that there are a lot of people who don't really want their insurance company knowing
Oh, that's a good point.
that they
Yeah,
have
yeah.
pre-existing problems, and that this type of facility can perform a valuable function. And so I have my private practice housed in the same facility. There's also massage and psychological services available.
Okay. Well, thank you, Dr. Chiarottino, for
Well, thanks for
being
having
with us.
me.
All right.
Yeah.
And we're going to cut to our our second commercial break. And that question is, which plant-eating dinosaur is known for having distinctive horns and a frill? The first 3 callers with the correct answer are going to win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the.
Frill.
You have to find out what a frill is.
And now the frill is gone.
The frill is gone.
Oh,
Yeah.
bad. Okay, the first 3 callers with the correct answer.
Kingosaurus?
The first 3 callers with the correct answer are going to win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouseforfun.com. Check them out. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. Which plant-eating dinosaur is known for having distinctive horns and a frill? Call 888-912-1190. Make sure to include your name, your email address, and speak slowly and spell out your email for us 1 letter at a time. And we'll be right back.
All right. A frill.
Brachiosaurus.
A broccoli-saurus?
Brachiosaurus.
What is the frill?
Actually, what was the...
Is it feathers or
what was
something?
No?
Brontosaurus?
No, what was the first one?
Triceratops.
Triceratops.
Yeah.
So it's got that
The
frill.
frill,
Oh, that's the
is
frill.
kind of the shield thing behind.
On, what was it, there's that cartoon, the dinosaur cartoons, where Little Feet and Sarah's the Triceratops. And, Lost or Land Before Time, or
There you go.
yeah.
It only took us about 5 minutes. I tried that one. All right, sir. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, I wish somebody had a radio station where I could go on and people could call in and ask questions.
I know.
That'd
well,
be great.
You know what? We used to do live,
Yeah.
but it was tough because Saturday we'd have to go in. He
Into
was
the
in
city.
Nevada, and we had to go. It was a real hassle.
It was an all-day affair to go into the city, get there early enough to make sure you don't hit traffic, record, then drive home. It was 10 to 4, for just that 1 hour slice.
There's
out
not
by Saturday.
a facility. It has to be at their.
For live.
Well, if you want to do live, yeah.
You could come to my place. time.
You have to.
What?
We could just bring the equipment, but it still wouldn't be live.
Yeah, this
That would
is
be
live.
calling,
take phone
that would be
calls.
calling, that would be walk-in.
No, in order to be
crawl
live.
in.
Crawl in, yeah.
I mean, if you've got a couple $1 million that you want to set up a studio, I'm sure it'll work.
I will.
KGO is going to be for sale soon. They just had an
Oh, is that
article this
right?
morning. Yeah, KGO is going down the toilet ever since those idiots decided to change the whole format.
They go, yeah, we're
took
gonna
the
be
number
just
one
like
radio
KCBS.
station for
Yeah.
50 years and turned it to
Don't-
a steaming pile
Now,
of dog
somebody
shit.
told me that 910 owns 810, they're all the same.
Oh, well, Cumulus owns.
Cumulus owns 680, which is
Yeah.
the Giant Stadium.
Yeah.
Clear Channel is this one. But I don't know if Clear Channel owns 810.
No,
I
Cumulus
couldn't believe what
owns,
they did.
Cumulus,
They took the best thing on and they said, get out of here.
I know. They go, you know what?
It made it
KCBS,
all
we're gonna make them
news,
just
which
like that.
KCBS, there was
Already
already
has.
KCBS.
There's
If
no
you
reason
wanted
to-
all news, you listen to 740.
No,
If you
yeah,
wanted to talk, you
It
listen
still is the
to
most
810.
amazing. I
Yeah.
don't understand any
Clear
company.
Channel by Bill Graham Productions? Was that Clear Channel that bought that?
That I don't remember. That was probably a good movie.
All right.
Cool.
So, thank you.
You're all set. Tomorrow
Yeah.
this will air at 1 p.m. On Channel 910.
Channel 910, I'll be
910,
listening.
1
o'clock.
Great.
Again,
Nice
the
meeting you.
TV part will be with whenever Mr. Clayman can
Okay,
put it all
so
together a
if
couple
you,
weeks.
if you get any referrals for me,
Of
you know,
course.
there's a kickback.
Kickback. We don't call it that.
All right.
All right,
Okay.
doctor. See you later.
Yeah.
Take care. Are you recording?
Are we still a half hour out? Because my meter is 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah,
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Hello.
All right.
So, did he bring any samples? Leave any samples?
I already took them. Should mention that.
Yeah, no, that would be good.
That would be kind of fun.
I'm exhausted.
I know.
I'm
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, I was hoping
centric.
he'd come at 12:30 so I could prepare him ahead of time for stuff rather than playing with the keys. But yes, okay.
One of the more interesting guests.
That'll do it. Okay. You guys ready? Okay, we'll get into email time and then that'll take some time. I'm sorry, I forgot that. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay.
Let's start over.
Still on board.
Start all over.
You're still getting your paycheck.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, here we go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hahn from Pacific Private Money and Robert Schiff of RPM Mortgage. And thank you, Dr. Chiarottino, for joining us.
And oh, by the way, did he leave any samples? on
I'm
the way
looking
out?
around. I can't find any samples, so sorry.
That was interesting.
Was that what they were?
Yeah, it was up they were, yeah. Okay, here's the second
I
term.
thought they were Tic Tacs.
Oh, Mark, you're so bad. Okay, here's the second trivia question commercial break question that we asked. Which plant-eating dinosaur is known for having distinctive horns and a frill? Mark.
That would be Triceratops.
Triceratops, that's right, because
Also known as Sarah on what was Land
Before Time.
Yeah.
That's right.
To watch that.
You know, Mark and I have
over
little
and over
kids
again.
and all that fun stuff. Okay, we're going to get right into email time here. And
Please.
Mark, a question for you. How worried should I be if a borrower doesn't pay on a loan I invest in? That's an interesting question.
Oh, that's an interesting question. So, for new listeners, I am the president of Pacific Private Money, located in Marin County, also known as Pacific Private Money Loans. We make loans to real estate investors who buy, fix, and flip real estate in the lovely Bay Area here. And the reason why a real estate investor would come to Pacific Private Money for a privately funded loan rather than go to the bank is because the banks generally right now, and haven't been since 2005 when or I should say 2008, when we had the mortgage meltdown and other fun and games in the economy, banks have really not been making those types of loans since 2008, and it kind of left real estate investors and people buying property for income, for rental income and other reasons, kind of left them out in the cold. So there really hasn't, or I should say the private money lending industry kind of stepped in 2008 and in fact has grown considerably in the last 5 years as the major source of funding for real estate investors. If you want to do consumer home loans, there's plenty of opportunities out there. But if you want to buy fix and flip real estate in the Bay Area, generally you're going to need to go to a private money lender like Pacific. So we call ourselves private money lenders because guess what? Our source of funds are from private individual investors who are seeking higher yields for their savings account and IRAs. And right now you can earn yields at 8 and 9% on average on an annualized basis if you invest in a loan that we write to real estate investors. So the question was, well, okay, so I invest in this loan that you make at Pacific to a real estate investor. Let's say we loan someone $150,000. It's equal to 70% of the purchase price on a home they want to buy fix and flip. They want the money for a year, although they probably hope to sell the property in 6 to 8 months. What if they don't make any? What if they start missing their payments, or something starts happening to that effect? How worried as an investor should you be? And the fact of the matter is that you've got excellent collateral if the loan is originated properly. And we've done over 500 loans, totaling $100 million in originations in the last 5 years, and of those, we've had virtually negligible default. Now, that doesn't mean that a borrower now and again might skip a payment, particularly when they're a rehabber. They're so busy, doing their rehabbing and stuff, and maybe they're not great at bill paying, so maybe they'll. So there are some guys that might pay every other month. The fact of the matter is they're paying, and
when they get a late fee.
And they get late fees, right? And so there's late fee income, which boosts your yield because you share in that late fee, and then when they go to sell that property, you as the lender have to fill out some paperwork to reconvey your loan. And so if they were late and didn't pay the late fees, you get to charge them then. Any other out-of-pocket expenses you may have incurred, which is rare, you get to collect that as well. So
do you also have default interest at a higher
we
rate?
do have if the guy is just really not paying attention and is after a couple of warnings is still not making his payments on time, you can exercise the default rate of interest, which the way we write our loans is usually 4 percentage points above the note rate. So if the note rate is 10 and the investor normally would be getting 9% on a 10% note, because we collect 1% off the top for servicing, that 10% note would go to 14 and the investor would be getting 13. So
and of course, where the discussion leads is what happens if that continues if they continue to make no payments. And I think the important thing to let people know is that you don't set up a loan where there's not much equity. You're not going to lend much over 70% of the value of the property. So if they bought a property, they put 30% of their own money into it, and they would be a rare instance where they would walk away from that initial investment. And if they did, and you had to foreclose, there's probably enough there that after all the hassles of going through foreclosure, they would probably reap benefits more than they would have without the hassles.
Well, that's correct. We call that protective equity, that 30%. So we loan up to 70%. The remaining 30% down that they come up with is the lender's protective equity. And in fact, the few cases where we've had where there have been defaults, in every case, when the lender finally collected back their loan as a result of the property sale, their net returns were nice. I mean, I had one guy that on a 11% note ended up collecting about 16% all told with late fees for a 6-month investment. So I mean, for some people you can get some lenders, particularly if you haven't done a lot of private lending before, maybe you've never done private lending before, you might get a little nervous if the borrower's not paying. But again, we set up that the way the business model is set up is to protect you. If they make no payments during the course of that short-term loan, we can normally either they're going to sell the property and you're going to get a small windfall in addition to your yield, or we're going to foreclose and you might even get a better windfall.
Is it legal to tell a borrower that that's fine, but we're going to ask you to upfront pay 6 months of the interest payments, which you can hold and disperse or something like that?
We can, because these are business purpose loans. We're not covered by the same consumer laws that on the loans, for example, Robert, that you originate. So we can make a loan to a real estate investor and say, oh, by the way, we're going to collect 6 months advance interest up front. And now we actually don't hold that. The lender will do what's called a net funding. They will just fund the loan amount less 6 months interest. So it's essentially prepaid.
So actually, your interest rate's a little higher because.
And then what happens to that money? Is that dispersed monthly to the investor? Or?
No, it's held that the investor keeps it. In other words, rather than $100,000, if it's a $100,000 loan and it's a 12% note rate and we're collecting 6 months advance up front, you would fund $94,000. You'd keep $6,000 in your pocket.
It's literally prepaid interest.
It's prepaid interest. So that's not uncommon on short-term fix and flip loans.
So the rate of return is actually higher because you're only funding $94,000.
Because that way the investor and the borrower both no longer have to worry about it. And probably it's easier for everyone. You don't have to be in the middle of calling them and collecting the money and having the calls from the
That's true. I've got lenders.
borrowers.
Yeah. I've got lenders who like doing that. I've got borrowers who like it that way. They like not having to make the payments. They'd rather prepay it all up front. They know they're going to be in and out of the property within 6 months.
And
Anyway,
they
they
know
can't
that
have any
makes
default.
their ability to borrow probably have a larger range of people who want to lend if they know that they don't have to worry about, did we get our money this month, did we get our money this month?
Exactly. It's easy. There's no loan servicing component of it, so it's actually pretty simple. So, good question.
No, that's a very good question. And Robert, you know what? We're going to get to your because the email that we have for you is extremely interesting, and I know you've got a lot of good stuff to point out about that. So we're going to go to a quick commercial break here. Before we do, next week we're going to have another special trivia contest where the winner is going to get a 2-night stay at the Glen Ellen Inn, which is a great getaway to the wine country, and it's the perfect way to relax this winter. The Glen Ellen Inn Oyster Grill and Martini Bar is the perfect place for a romantic meal or party with friends and family. Make a night of it and stay at the Glen Ellen Inn Secret Cottages. And I just took some friends there a couple of months ago, and the food was fantastic and very reasonably priced. Check them out at glenelleninn.com. And here's the trivia question. What do Edward Norton, Dustin Hoffman, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Daniel Day-Lewis have in common? All right, that's the question. Next week, here are the rules. Cannot have been a previous winner of a contest on Best of Investing. You need to email Edward at bestofinvesting.com by midnight tonight the answer. Next week, we'll randomly choose from among the winning correct answers. Okay. Now we're going to cut to our third and final trivia question, commercial break, and again the theme is paleontology. Which dinosaur looked similar to an elephant but had much larger tusks? The first 3 callers with the correct answer on this question are going to win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. Which dinosaur looked similar to an elephant but had much larger tusks? Make sure to include your name, your email address, and remember to speak slowly and spell out your email for us one letter at a time. And we're going to be right back. Hey.
Well, they all were some in the actor's studio, but I'll bet that's not the answer.
Very good, Mark. I figured I couldn't answer anything too difficult. Like
Yeah.
No.
A woolly mammoth.
Okay, so like here's which dinosaur was according to all the records that the average person knows came before Tyrannosaurus Rex, was more powerful and actually had claws. Because you know the Tyrannosaurus Rex had these little guys like this, right?
Yeah.
That one I think would be a little too hard for most people.
How large was the asteroid rumored to have caused the extinction that led to the downfall of the dinosaurs? 60 million years ago.
Noah's Flood. That's how big it was.
That's right. Absolutely.
How big was it?
Huh? Oh, I don't know. It's like a half a mile wide or something. It was an awfully big rock.
Wide enough.
Wide enough.
So the answer to the other one is Allosaurus.
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 That's right. That's right. I forgot.
Yes, dinosaurs a long time ago.
That was the good doctor.
Yes.
We just made a drug deal, so
Yeah,
No, it's not what it was.
I hope you don't care. But he said he forgot to tell you his address.
No, he
Well,
did. He said it was at
Yeah,
the
he's
corner.
at the corner of
The
Garbage Heap, Third and Irwin or
Garbage
something.
Heap,
Yeah.
Third and Irwin.
And he wanted to know wanted you to know the exact address.
902 Irwin. Oh, wait a minute. That's the Chinese restaurant.
Hey,
It's
go
the,
there.
it's the back of 902 Irwin.
Yeah.
It's 902
The back door where you.
90210.
You guys are so funny. All right. Let me see how much time we have left here, and then we get into your questions. That'll be a nice one.
Let's do some algebraic calculations.
Is this 3 or 4?
4. This is it.
This is it. Yeah.
He also wanted to know, Robert, if you wanted a banana.
I think he was ready to go on the air with while you
color
had
my
that.
shirt.
know.
Oh, What's this?
What?
You didn't see that?
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
And
yeah,
the
right.
keys too.
Indians, yeah.
Sorry, guys.
I think he was on drugs.
Well,
Well,
you know,
he
you know
said-
what? He said he had gotten off, and it was.
Yeah, he
And he's still getting off.
Remember,
Oh,
we're
we're
recording
being-
on this.
Oh, and I am too, just because I'm going to have fun.
That's the woolly mammoth.
Yeah.
It's going to end up being a 30-minute show.
Okay, 10 minutes. We have a decent amount of time on this one here. Okay, you guys ready?
Ready, Teddy?
Ready?
Let her happen.
Let it happen, Captain.
Captain Crunch.
That's it. Okay, here we go. Actually, you should do cereal sometime. Okay, here we go.
Oh yeah.
Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money, California's fastest growing private lender, and Mark. No, that's Mark again. And Robert Schiff of RPM Mortgage, one of our favorite mortgage brokers. Which brings us to, first let's go to the trivia question, and then I'll get into your email here. All right, third and final trivia question was, which dinosaur looked similar to an elephant but had much larger tusks?
Woolly woolly.
Woolly.
The woolly mammoth.
The woolly mammoth, that is correct.
And they were,
Were they technically dinosaurs? Because like they were still roaming around like 10,000 years ago, right?
I guess.
Theory.
Yeah, well, you know.
they were on Route 66.
That's right. Did you see the movie Ice Age?
No.
The kids' movie Ice Age, the cartoon? You've seen
That's
that?
great.
That was a cute movie, yeah. They had a woolly mammoth in there. And Sid. Remember Sid? He was cute. Okay. Robert, the email we got from you is a very interesting one here. This is obviously a very sophisticated person. If I have a low tax base for property taxes, should I worry about it changing if I refinance?
Well, that is a good question. I get people asking me that a lot of the times, and it surprises me each time. That if you have a low tax basis for property taxes, it means that you owned the property a long time, because California Proposition 13 says that your property tax is set from the time you bought the property.
Or if Prop 8, they went back to the assessor and got them way lower.
Yes.
That's what I'm
Yes.
assuming that this person is asking that question, that they used to have, let's say, $1 million house, they went back to the assessor and they got lowered down, let's say, $700,000.
And so
Now they want to refinance.
So when you go to refinance, as everybody's saying, well, if I refinance, is the county going to reassess my property? And the answer is no. The county will not be able to reassess your property. When you go get another loan, whether the county doesn't even know whether you're borrowing more money than you currently owe, or you're simply refinancing the amount you owe to get a lower interest rate, or you need money to pay for your kids' college tuition, whatever the reasons you're refinancing, don't pertain to the county. All the county knows is that there's a change in your loan. One loan is getting paid off, and you're getting a new loan.
Okay, does that prompt the question from the county, hey, did you get, has an appraisal been done on your house?
It's my experience that that's never happened. I think it's even stronger than that. If, in fact, I've never heard of anyone ever having the county come to them and say, because you've recently got a new loan, we want to know if the appraised value of your property has gone up, and therefore we can raise your taxes.
If you're limited to 2% annual increase over your assessed value, if they in fact have lowered your assessed value, can they increase it?
They can increase if I understand it correctly, if you have a Prop 8 reduction, what they can do is go all the way back up to what it was before, and then go 2%.
I don't know I would imagine that part of the Proposition 8.
Probably should have read the law before we
law
started
was
talking about it.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure about that.
This is the low ceiling until we can show that we, the county, can show that the property values have increased. But I don't think they can do a blanket thing and say, well, the property values in Marin County have gone up 20% this year, so we're going to raise everybody's taxes. It had a reduction another 20%.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's that as much as just in general. You know, someone might be, let's say someone is really thinking about refinancing and they want to call Robert Schiff of RPM Mortgage to refinance, but they're concerned that they had a property
No, I get it.
reduction,
I
right?
do get asked that a lot. If I refinance, I'm thinking of doing it, but I don't want my property taxes to go up. And they're totally disparate. They're not involved in the same.
Okay, so the county generally doesn't ask.
It's
for
more
an
than
appraisal.
generally. I can't
haven't
say
seen
that
it.
they don't have the legal right to. And I think that
But
may
here's the
be
other
true,
question: is let's
but
say
they
they
never
do.
have.
But let's say they even do.
If they do, then you can say, yes, I got a loan on my property, and I don't even know what the value was. You can call Robert Schiff at RPM Mortgage
Yeah.
if you want, and I don't know that he'll be legally responsible to divulge that information.
They'll
to
say,
you.
what loan?
So,
Yeah, or you say, yeah, I flew in some celebrities to hang around the house just to get a higher appraisal,
Yes.
but they're not here anymore.
No, but there are a lot of people that do have that concern, and it's a cautious concern, but it's unfounded. It will not happen.
Okay, so now that we know that people shouldn't be worried about that, people are going to say they're going to get on the phone now and want to call Robert Schiff of RPM Mortgage for refinancing their house. How are they going to
That would
go
be a
ahead and
good
do that?
idea. And the best way to get a hold of me is on my cell phone, which I have with me, which is 415-515-1941. They can also go onto the website of RPM Mortgage, which has a lot of very pertinent and interesting information, or they can track me down through looking at the website for the Best of Investing.
That's right. You are on there. And in fact, Mark, I think we forgot to ask how people can get a hold of you.
Oh, that's right. If you're interested in private money financing or want more information on how you too can earn yields as high as 8% safely and securely using your savings and IRA monies, check out our website, pacificprivatemoney.com. Of course, that's all one word, pacificprivatemoney.com, or call us in the Bay Area at 415-883-2150. That's 415-883-2150. Or again, like Robert said, check us out on thebestofinvesting.com.
There you go. And are there any other specific things that you guys wanted to talk about?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I just want to share that I've had in our office one of my busiest weeks in memory in terms of the volume of loan applications that we got. And again, these are hard money, private money loan applications from real estate investors.
Wow.
This week was incredibly busy, and that comes off weeks and weeks of news reports of how tight inventory is in most Bay Area cities, and in terms of short sales are fewer, REOs are fewer. I mean, the inventory is down, and I do have clients complaining that they can't find property priced well enough to for them to like buy, fix, and flip. But then I've got this whole handful of other guys that have been successful in continuing to find opportunities. And what I find interesting is that right now the most of the activity is short sale activity, and it's short sale activity for people who were busy making offers in the fourth quarter of last year, because is what you'll find out about short sales is that they tend to take anywhere from 3 to 6 months to go through. And but the upside of making consistent offers over time on short sale properties is that when they do come back, oftentimes they're approving a purchase offer that was made when the market was a little bit lower. So we've had a rising market in the last 6 months. So I've been seeing short sale contracts come through my office recently where I'm pretty amazed at the price these guys are getting in contrast to what properties are presently selling for in the open market.
Now, are these the purchases that the people are going to rehab and
Yes.
turn and put it back on?
Yeah, and then and looking at the remodeled flip sales in those same neighborhoods, they're generally significantly higher. So again, that's what a real estate investor needs.
That's what I see, because the people that are buying it then come to me for regular financing, and then I can see the history and the chain, and there's a significant increase in the value from the time the initial investor bought it. Usually it's a cash deal.
Is that an issue? I was gonna say, if it's not a cash deal and it's being financed, is that an issue for some of the banks where they say, wait a minute, this thing just appraised, $200,000 lower?
Well, there are federal regulations that with certain stipulations that if you are buying a property and it has the chain of ownership there's a short time where somebody owned it beforehand, then there's certain requirements and regulations and time periods that need to transpire before you can turn around and get Fannie Freddie financing.
Yeah, but if you've improved it quite a bit, if you put a lot of money in rehabbing it,
that's true. But the government wanted to have some control over fix and flips to make sure there wasn't another bubble coming.
They're getting into our fix and flip market now.
Yes.
Yeah, they just can't leave things alone, can they?
Well, we needed the guys at AIG because they were the only ones that understood how to take care of that situation. So.
Well, they paid all their money back, didn't they?
I don't know. I think the government still has an ownership interest in AIG. Perhaps.
Yeah, but I think they paid all the loans back, right?
I
So
think so.
it actually turned out to be not too bad a deal for them.
Yeah.
Finally, the
No,
government
that's
actually
true.
may have done something smart.
Yeah.
We're on their side.
Really?
Okay. All right, here's our thoughts for the day. You ever notice how dogs have owners, but cats have staff? Because cats, they're so kind of independent and they
They have
run
staff.
the roost. There you go.
Okay.
Okay. And my philosophy: hard work never killed anybody, but why take the chance? And with those encouraging words, tune in next week to the Best of Investing. We're going to be giving away 9 more free vacations for answering trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown, wishing you the best of investing. So long.